Hey everyone, and welcome to the results video for the Mini Mystic Mountain contest. Now, for this contest, all the players had to build something in the RCT1 scenario Mystic Mountain, or Mothball Mountain as it's called in the American version of the game, for some reason. Anyway, we got quite a few entries for this contest. I'll start by showing the one who got the lowest score, and I'll finish by announcing who's the winner of this round. Alright, in 21st place we have the entry from Super Brother. Now, I believe it's the first entry for a contest from Super Brother in one of my contests. Super Brother made this pretty cool looking compact inverted coaster. I quite like the colors on this ride. And there's also several other rides in the park, lots of them also with different colors. I believe the story said something about this park sort of being neglected or badly maintained, and he wondered why anyone would want to go here. But yeah, there's some nice small rides in the park here. We have a little wooden wild mouse, we have a maze, there's also this big dinghy slide, and there's several other rides in the park as well. Alright, next up is the entry from Lane, another first time entrant in one of my contests. Now, I believe the story was something about this park being built on the place of an old nuclear power plant. So there's this big coaster traveling through the entire park. Now, I think it actually looks pretty nice. It definitely is the center point for the park. Although there's also some other cool rides in the park. And every ride has this nice black and yellow and gray color scheme. That's pretty nice. Now, a big point of concern for me for this park is actually here, the part before the station. You can see a train is waiting here, and the other trains, they just bump into each other here, and then just very slowly drive to the station. I think this ride could have maybe used a few block brakes here, or maybe just 2 or 3 trains less. Probably would have been better than just having these trains bump into each other here. But yeah, overall I think it has a pretty nice look. Alright, next up is the entry from One Bull Shark. One Bull Shark made this nice stream through the park with these waterfalls. That looks really nice. I also love this Larsen looper here on the top. These flags actually work pretty nicely here, so that's pretty nice. Now here's an interesting wooden coaster, also with 2 vertical loops. And then here in the middle we have this big bridge. Sometimes you can see a train pass over it in both directions. And then over here there's some monster trucks driving around. And here's also some grandstands. Now actually if you hide these paths, then there's actually some very nice ways to make a grandstand here. I actually made a tutorial for it a few years ago, so it might be worth looking it up. You can make this look much nicer, with guests only facing one direction if you want. Alright, the next entry is from Boskop, who created this entry in Rollercoaster Tycoon 1. I think the map looks pretty nice. I am going to disable the rain, however. The park looks much nicer when it's sunny. There's some nice scenery throughout the map. You can see some Roman stuff here. It's also a pyramid here. Here's a little mine theme. The themes are kind of all over the place though, and all throughout. So I'm not really sure what that's all about. I do think the rides do look pretty nice. The wooden coaster here, I think it looks pretty cool. Definitely a nice center point for the park. Also like how it travels around the Colosseum here, for example. I do think the monorail maybe looks a little bit out of place. You can only really see it pop up in a few spots, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. But yeah, overall, I do think it looks pretty nice. One spot that I really like, for example, is these dodgems here. That actually works pretty well here for the roof. Alright, next entry is from Mr. Noah Cow, another first time entry if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Noah Cow made some nice rides in the park. I quite like this section here with this stand-up coaster. That looks pretty nice. I like the different grand textures that were used here. The walls in the back do look a little bit chaotic, but that was probably intentional. It does look a little bit messy. Also some other nice rides in the park. There's a huge launch tower here. We have a scream and swing ride over here, also pretty nice. And there's also this shuttle coaster in the corner of the map. Yeah, some fun rides in the park for sure. Alright, this next entry is from someone you probably know pretty well. This entry is from Marcel, also known as Marcel Vos. And he created this Temple of Duck. Now, I really like this entry. I think the temple actually looks pretty nice. And you can also see these two giant ducks under it. Also quite a few ducks swimming around here. So yeah, you can also see the sign here saying Temple of the Duck. And here you can see a maze ride called This Duck's Cloaca. That's an interesting name for a ride. Not really sure if anything's written here in the maze. I can't really tell. But yeah, definitely not amazed that the guests seem to really enjoy. But yeah, I think the map looks really cool. Alright, the next map is from ATN. ATN created this map with a pretty cool aesthetic. So all these buildings are white and grey. And especially this tower. I think it looks super cool. We also have several rides here. Here's one of those teacups rides. We should probably see it in action soon. Let's just speed up the game a bit. Yeah, classic ride. These are always pretty fun to make and they always look super nice in your park. Now there's some beautiful buildings over here. And there's also a coaster that travels around in this area. It also teleports through some of the buildings. Not really sure why it does that. Yeah, it does look a little bit chaotic. But it is a fun side. Alright, next up is the park from Horror Girl. Horror Girl made this beautiful castle over here, which is also my favorite part of the park. There's also a log flume traveling around here. Also pretty nice. Yeah, there's also a wooden coaster here. I do think the wooden coaster maybe looks a little bit wonky. Especially some of the supports probably weren't really placed right, like this one here. Also these here look a little bit strange. Now also a big loop over here and some water splash and another chain lift. Yeah, I think the layout is also a little bit weird. Also there's this small booster section here just to help it through the track. If you were gonna add a single booster piece somewhere in the track, probably best to just hide it somewhere so it isn't that obvious. If your coaster doesn't make it through the track somewhere, might actually be better to just make your track a little bit lower over there instead of trying to solve it with just single booster pieces. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Now overall, I do quite like the look and feel of the map. There's some nice buildings over here. Also quite like the fountain. But of course this castle is definitely my favorite part of the park. Alright, next map from Jimmy Giant. Jimmy Giant put a lot of custom rides in the park. Here you can see another one of these teacups rides. Here you can see a Ferris wheel, which for some reason has this shipping container here in the center. This bridge here in the center, I think it looks pretty cool. Here we have one of these parachute drop rides. I think the top could have actually been decorated a little bit more in a little bit more appealing way. Maybe have a nice decoration here on top, maybe some bright colors. So now it just looks like a hunk of metal here. My favorite part of the park is probably actually this diagonal scream and swing ride. That's actually yeah. I quite like how this was done in the park. Alright, then we have a tie for 11th place. Here's the entry from B player. Now I really like the color scheme in this park. This yeah, dark green, I think it works really well also with the beige and beige spots and the yellow tones. Yeah, I think that's pretty appealing. We also have this nice blue color here. And yeah, there's several pretty nice rides in the park. I quite like how this drop tower here is decorated. I think the buildings in the park also look pretty nice. The log flume also situated pretty nicely here. Also has a nice little bridge here to go back to the station. yeah, I think this park is just really nicely done. I also love this coaster over here. Nice work from a B player. Alright, also in 11th place is an entry from Lurker. Lurker created this park with this dive coaster here. Now all the stuff that was placed here looks like it was made in Rollercoaster Tycoon 1. Probably wasn't made in Rollercoaster Tycoon 1, maybe it was. But yeah, it does definitely have that look and feel. Well, yeah, I think Lurker did a really nice job. The landscaping's pretty nice. I really like how this coaster is situated here in the back of the park. Definitely a nice eye catcher. And there's also this nice junior coaster traveling over this part of the park. Well, yeah, I think Lurker did a really nice job here in the park. Alright, then in 10th place we have this entry from Madazog. I believe Madazog also gave himself the restrictions of building without cheats. And there were some other things that he didn't allow himself to do. But yeah, despite those restrictions, I think this park is done really nicely. Yeah, without cheats, it's pretty difficult to do nice supports like these. But I think Madazog did a pretty nice job on them. The other part that I really like is this station here. I think this castle looks really nice. And it's pretty impressive to make something like this without disabling clearance checks. Also a part here which looks like yeah, maybe these are just some extra supports, or maybe this is supposed to be a catwalk, not really sure. It says boomerang support, so it's probably just supports. But yeah, it definitely makes this lift hill look a little bit more interesting. Yeah, and just a wonderful little park from Madazog. Okay, next up is an entry from our Adrian 1994. And our Adrian 1994 also made a park. It looks like I just beat the scenario, which is really nice. Yeah, he also made a park which kind of looks like something out of Rollercoaster Tycoon 1. You have a lot of these tunnels, but also yeah, lots of these buildings made with raised land. Now, I really like how this map is just filled with these 3 wooden coasters. I think their layouts actually do look pretty nice. It's fun to follow them throughout the map. Yeah, the map is very crowded, very dense, but I don't think it looks overwhelming. It doesn't look chaotic, and yeah, these layouts for these wooden coasters are pretty nice. Although it does look like they seem to turn into the same direction a lot. But yeah, I think it's a pretty fun map to explore. And by the way, if you think I'm going through these entries too fast, yeah, I'll have to keep it a bit short in this video. If you want to see more of these entries, you can download all of them from my website. There's a link in the video description. Alright, the next entry is from Michel. Another first time entrant in one of my contests, and he created this really cool map. Yeah, I love these buildings here around the entrance plaza. Yeah, these buildings. This building style is something you'll find often in Scandinavia, I believe. These red wooden buildings. Yeah, I think it's a really nice combination here, and I think this looks great. And I just love this little plaza here, also with the fountain in the middle, these buildings surrounding it. That's really nice. Now, also a nice coaster here. Yeah, there's this vertical spike here, and after that there are several inversions before there's another vertical spike. Yeah, that's done in a pretty nice way. Also, we have a little drop tower over here. And then here in the corner of the map, there's this wooden wild mouse coaster. We've already seen quite a few of these in this contest. And then finally here's a swinging ship, although the top does probably look maybe a little bit too bulky. But yeah, overall I think this is just a really cool looking map, and definitely very impressive for someone who joins the contest on my Discord community for the first time. Alright, the next entry is from Max Arceus, and the description for this entry was "something's wrong." Now let's just zoom out a bit. Yeah, these are actually all guests that are frozen in place. Some of them are actually dropping down, and I actually looked into the staff menu here, and there's actually 2,100 entertainers in the park. Okay, these guests are all frozen entertainers. I believe Max wrote a plugin to do some math to calculate positions for all these entertainers to make this big eye here and these rings around it. That's definitely something else. I wonder if we're gonna see more objects made of guests in the future. Must have taken quite some time to write a plugin for this. But yeah, that's not everything there's in this map. Here there's this big void with other weird stuff. Here we can see a balloon rainbow popping. That's actually pretty cool. Here we can see a coaster in the void with support also made out of entertainers and track made out of ride vehicles. And something which is also pretty cool is this cube of land here which is flipped on its side. So yeah, you can also see this building here which looks like it's on its side. Also these trees, this path. Yeah, that's just super fun. No, I think Max made a really unique park here. All these different ideas together, they do look a little bit random, but for sure it's really cool how he made this. Alright, next up is the park from 30. 30 made this small park, mostly with a garden theme, I guess. Hey, here we have this coaster. It's one of these Vekoma whirlwind coasters called Garden Wind. Yeah, your standard old Vekoma coaster with curved drop, then two corkscrews before it returns back to the station. I really like this sign that 30 made. That looks super nice. I also see a little guest scene over here. The guests just walk on the grass here. And then here there's this bridge. And looks like over here there's this laser show which projects stuff onto the rocks here. And we can see lots of guests watching here. Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool map. I really like how much detail 30 added into all of his map. And there's just lots of little guest scenes all throughout the map, which makes it really nice. Alright, and then in 5th place we have the entry from TechnoKiwi91. He created this really nice looking map. There's this wooden coaster which travels through the center of the map here. Yeah, I really like how this map here is bisected by this coaster. And yeah, together with this bridge they make a great eye catcher. I love the way this bridge looks. Yeah, especially from this side. These supports just look incredible, and it's really nice with this coaster passing under it. Yeah, lots of gardens here. I also really like the walls around this park. They give the park a really unique feel. And there's also some other really nice buildings here in the park. Yeah, just wonderful work from TechnoKiwi91. Alright, the next entry is from JanTheMan227 and Papa Ness. Together they made this Hogwarts inspired entry. So here you can see a big castle with lots of stuff flying around it. Let me just pause it to see what this is. This is a Dementor chase. So the Dementor is chasing this person. It was probably riding on a broomstick. Now, I think the castle looks really nice. I love this tower here. But also the rest of the structure. It does seem a little bit on the glitchy side with all this stuff flying over it. You can see quite a few things flicker here. So that may be something to be careful with if you're doing an entry like this in the future with lots of scenery overlapping each other. But yeah, I think the castle structure is great. Also love the path leading towards it. It's just very nicely decorated. You can also see some other stuff here in the park, like this tree with some of these yeah, some of these branches moving here. That's also a nice detail. So there's a blue car in the top. Yeah, I think it has some really nice references here to the Harry Potter universe. Really nicely done. Okay, then in 3rd place we have the entry from Levels. And Levels decided to do a desert theme park, because that's what Mystic Mountain is all about. No, I think actually it works really well, and I think it looks super nice. Yeah, I think the Levels did an incredible job decorating this park. It has this really nice coaster here, some of these LSM launch coasters. First lift hill, and the last part is these sloped booster sections. Yeah, I also love these towers here. They're just made with pyramids that have been cut off, and they actually work from all angles. I think that's pretty neat. You can also see several other rides in the park, like this Ferris wheel over here. Also this twist ride, I think it's decorated pretty nicely. And yeah, just all throughout the park there's all these beautiful buildings and beautiful decorations here. I think Levels did an incredible job decorating all the rides and buildings in this park. Alright, there's just 2 entries remaining. I will first show both of them, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Alright, the first possible winner is an entry from Ball Pit Warrior. Ball Pit Warrior created this, I believe it's an LSM launch coaster, but it doesn't actually get launched as far as I can see. So it's just one of these modern looping coasters. But yeah, I love this rocky landscape here, but also how the coaster interacts with it. It travels into a tunnel here, then pops out above this rock climbing track. Also pretty nice how Ball Pit Warrior did this rock climbing track here. But yeah, coaster travels all throughout the entry here. Has quite a few inversions. We have this big loop here. There's also this cobra roll, which is in the center of these paths here. You can also see some guests looking at the cobra roll. Yeah, I quite like the layout. Also, here's another nice interaction moment with this corkscrew passing right over the path here. That's also pretty nicely done. If I was walking around in this park, I would probably be standing here watching the coaster for a bit. Yeah, I also love the station for the ride. This building looks great. And there's several other cool rides in the park. Also this boat ride here, which splashes down and then actually gets retracted back into the station here. Yeah, just a really nice park from Ball Pit Warrior. Alright, and then here we have the park from In Error Predicting a Fault. Now he made this a really cool park. It's based on some sort of Steam festival. I kind of forgot the name, but yeah, I really like how In Error Predicting a Fault did these concert stages, but also all the other stuff here that's in the area. Yeah, this concert stage here is super cool. I also love how he did these entertainers. There's actually 2 entertainers on top of each other. Here you can see one of these bandits that's actually drowning, and it's on top of another bandit, so it actually still shows the legs. Same with this handyman. And yes, some of these entertainers were put on top of each other, and I think that gives a really great effect. Kind of looks like they're actually waving and shouting at the crowd here. Now the stage itself also just looks wonderful. I also love the flames here on top in all these different bright colors. That's just super cool. Now here you can see another smaller concert stage, also with some furries performing here. Also, I really love all these these little buildings here, or these little stands on this festival terrain. Yeah, just a wonderful aesthetic to the park. And I also love the way that In Error Predicting a Fault did all the foliage here. Yeah, really nice work. Alright, now it's time to reveal which one of these last 2 entries is the winner of this round. Is it this festival from In Error Predicting a Fault? Or is it the park with the orange coaster from Ball Pit Warrior? And the winner of the Mystic Mountain contest is... Ball Pit Warrior. Now, I think both of these last 2 parks were great. My favorite was actually the one from In Error Predicting a Fault. But Ball Pit Warrior got the highest score from the most of the voters. So he definitely deserved the win. Now, I think this is a great park as well. I think the coaster looks great, and it definitely dominates the park here. And yeah, the park just looks super nice, and Ball Pit Warrior did an amazing job here. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked watching these entries, please like this video. It would really help out my channel. I would love to hear in the comments which one of these entries is your favorite, or which one you think should have scored better. And if you want to see more of these videos, you can always subscribe to my channel. Alright, hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.